Hi everyone. So I wanted to give you a shoulder workout, right? When I practice archery, I'm shooting about 400 arrows a day, 200 right-handed, 200 left-handed. And I don't have shoulder issues. Obviously, yes, I'm using my back muscles the way I should be, but this can create, shooting this number of arrows can create shoulder issues. And because I teach yoga and I have a background in exercise. I've been involved in exercise science for a few decades now. I thought that I would share some shoulder exercises and stretches that you can do. You could pick one, you could do them all. You could pick a couple of stretches and a couple of strengthening exercises. And this requires no equipment, okay? So turn sideways here a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to start out with the rotator cuffs, and the rotator cuffs are four small muscles in each shoulder that are small, they're tight, and they're weak. Okay, and I'm going to start moving them, stretching them, and strengthening at the same time. A couple of different exercises that I do for that. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn my palms up, elbows together. And then, like I'm splashing water on my face, I'll come through, backs of the palms together, and come underneath. So a full circle there. Then I'll turn the palms up. So thumbs out is external rotation. Thumbs in is internal rotation. So I'm going from external rotation all the way through to internal rotation. And then palms up, elbows together if possible, external to internal. Okay, and I'll do a few of those, maybe 10, 15. And I can already feel my shoulders working here. I can feel the rotator cuff muscles working, and then I'll switch directions, do the same thing in the opposite direction. So I come underneath, bring my elbows together, and then open my arms, keeping my elbows together as much as possible. Once my arms are straight, I'll internally rotate, the palms out, thumbs down, and then go through that again. Internal rotation, underneath, elbows together, external rotation. Keep the arms straight while I rotate. Internal rotation, external, internal, external. And again, I'll do maybe 10 to 15 of these. You can do these at any time. This is not something that you only do one set of and then you're done. Okay? And then the next one is again for the rotator cuffs. It's also internal and external rotation. And what I do is I make a figure eight with the fingertips. This one comes from Tai Chi. It's actually a Dao Yin exercise. I make a figure eight with my fingertips. And I'll put a little bit more flexion and extension into the wrist and then rotate a little bit more each time. Okay, so it's more like an infinity symbol, sideways figure eight here. Now, the forearm rotates, the wrist doesn't rotate. So I'm working my forearms here, internal and external rotation on the forearms, as well as my biceps and triceps and my rotator cuffs. So this is preparing me for those, or to prevent those rotator cuff injuries, which are so common. And then again, just like the other one, this one I'll do the other direction as well. Sort of wipe, and then curl over in the center, and then wipe, curl over in the center. So if you're having shoulder issues, you're having rotator cuff issues, frozen shoulders, you can actually do these exercises, okay? Specifically this one, very simple, and you can just start out making a simple, very small figure eight, and then add more to it once your shoulder gets more range of motion and more strength back, okay? So those are the two. From there, I will clasp hands behind my back. Now, if you can't clasp hands behind your back, hold a stick, hold, if you're an archer, hold an arrow or your bow, or even just a strap, piece of rope. And I'm going to clasp hands, press my hands back, my shoulders down, and lift the chest. So now if you sit at a desk and you work at a desk, or you sit a lot, this is probably the most important stretch that you can do. Okay, it comes across from the front of the shoulder, the anterior deltoid, all the way up across the clavicle, the upper chest area, and then down through to the other side. So I'm doing this one a lot. If you're an archer, what it helps you do is it helps you open up the chest and allow those back muscles to do their work as you draw a bow, particularly if you have a heavy bow. All right, so here's a chest stretch. It's also a little bit of a bicep stretch and again, front of the shoulders. And then from here, I'll just roll the shoulders out. Now, I'm rolling the shoulders back down the spine, and then I'm going to involve the entire back. So I'm going to crunch down, shoulders forward, then up to the ears, and then back, and then down the spine. So essentially performing a back bend and then a crunch. Right? Crunch down, and I will try to make as big a circle as I can. I'm trying to create more range of motion in my shoulders. I tend not to do both directions in this, but you could do both directions. So, big shoulder rolls involve the upper back as well, stretching out the upper back, because if you're drawing a bow, then you'll find that these muscles do get tight, the rhomboid muscles, particularly between the shoulder blades. So here I'm releasing them, and I'll show you another release for them in a minute. And then, of course, yes, you could do a forward shoulder roll as well. I tend not to bother with that one. From here, I'll come to hands and knees. And another range of motion exercise, and this is just really as much a body awareness exercise as it is for range of motion. But to keep my elbows straight on hands and knees, and I'll squeeze my shoulder blades together, keeping my elbows straight. And then press the floor away and separate the shoulder blades. Again, squeezing the shoulder blades together, lowering my chest and my face towards my hands, squeezing them together, and then press the floor away, keeping the elbows straight, and separate my shoulder blades. So I squeeze and press. Now, if you have a bit more strength, you could do this from a plank position. Okay, same thing, no different. Squeeze shoulder blades, separate, squeeze, separate. Notice I'm not bending my elbows. Okay, this is purely shoulder. A couple more. And again, you can do as many or as few of these as you like. Now that one there is quite challenging in the plank position. So you could start out on hands and knees and then work your way up into a plank position doing those. The next one I do is quite similar, but it's elevation and depression. I lift my arms up overhead. I try not to collapse my lower back. Right? So I draw the front of my ribs in. From here, I'll reach up to the ceiling and touch my shoulders to my ears. And then slowly lower down, but keep my arms straight and overhead. Once again, reach arms up, touch the ceiling, shoulders to the ears, and then down as far away from the ears as I can get my shoulders. So I'm going up and down, up and down, lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. One more time, lifting and lowering. Now, if I want to add more resistance to that, then I would do that in a downward dog position. So I bring my hands shoulder width, spread my fingers wide, come to a plank, bend my knees slightly, and then shift back here. Okay? Now, in this position here, I'll hunch up again, touch my shoulders to my ears, and then slowly release, keeping my elbows straight, and reach the crown of my head for my thumbs, and again, press away and release. Press and release. Now, this is more challenging than the version I did while I was kneeling. I have my body weight on my arms and shoulders here. Right? But all I'm doing is creating range of motion, stability, and strength throughout the shoulder. So a couple more stretches I do for my shoulders. And these are classic yoga stretches that you can do. So we've done the one behind the back, lifting the chest, releasing anterior deltoids, upper chest, right, clavicle area. So another one that I'll do is cross my elbows in front and bring my palms together. Now, if you can't do this, you can just hold an arrow. You could hold a stick, a piece of string, a rope, strap, and pass it from one hand to the other. And now I'm lifting and squeezing my elbows gently together while keeping my shoulders down. So I'm depressing the shoulders, lowering the shoulders as I lift my elbows, and then gently squeezing my elbows together. And this is going to release, again, the back, right, the rhomboids between the shoulder blades and the backs of the shoulders. When I'm done with one side, I'll switch to the other side, lift, and squeeze. Okay? One side will be easier than the other, and that's fine and that's normal. You'll have more range of motion in one shoulder. You'll also have more muscle in one shoulder, and the chances are your stronger shoulder, that side, will be tighter, okay, due to having a lot more muscle in it. So when I'm doing this, as I lift and squeeze, that's separating my shoulders back there and stretching out the rhomboid muscles between the shoulder blades. The next one is I take one arm over, which is external rotation because my thumb turns out, and then internal rotation on the other side, and I clasp hands behind my back. And again, if you don't have this clasp, you can hold a strap, hold an arrow, hold your bow, whatever works back there, okay? And I'm just holding this. What I'm doing here is releasing a little bit into the tricep here, which is obviously attached to the shoulder. And then on the other side, I've got all this internal rotation, again, on the outside of the shoulder there. If I wanted to add to this, I could fold forward. I could just drop down here. That's going to be a lot more challenging on this internally rotated lower arm here. I could do that standing as well. And then, of course, what I do on one side, I want to do on the other side. Same thing. Now, I would do these stretches for probably about 30 seconds, no longer. And you may do them twice. Go from one side to the other side and back again, because the second time you may find that you've released your shoulders quite a bit more. The other thing that I normally advise people to do is to do the tighter side more often. So let's say I'm tighter on this side, I'll come back to this side a second time. I won't do the other side a second time. I just come back to this side a second time so that I can get a little bit more release in that internal rotation on that left shoulder. Now this next exercise simulates a shoulder press that you might do if you were lifting weights in the gym. I want my elbows bent at 90 degrees. Okay, I'm actually going to be in a downward dog position. I want my elbows bent at 90 degrees, my hands about elbow width. In the gym, if I had a shoulder press machine, I would either press straight up like this, or I would press up and in. If I had dumbbells, I would press up and in, right? But I wouldn't come behind the neck, okay? Wouldn't do that behind the neck. So I want this parallel to my ears, and that's essentially what I'll be doing in this next exercise to strengthen the front of the shoulders, upper shoulder, and so on. Take a look. I'll walk my hands wide so that my hands are off this yoga mat here, and only my thumbs are on the mat. What I'm going to do is bend my elbows and touch my forehead down to this line between my thumbs, between my palms. Now, when I do that, I'll bend my elbows about 90 degrees, and I want them to not go wider than my wrists. So if my hands are on my mat, my elbows will go outside the wrist, and that's not what I want. This essentially is a shoulder press, but without using any weights. Right, so here I am in a down-facing dog, a wide one. I'm going to bend elbows, touch my forehead down to the mat between the thumbs, and I'm not tucking my chin, trying to get further down. I'm just between the thumbs. And then I'll press back to this down dog position. Again, I'm lowering forwards and then pressing backwards. I'm not going forwards and then coming back up. Right? Once I'm down here, I'm pressing straight back towards my tailbone. Again, forwards and backwards, forwards and backwards. If I do that at an angle, you can see that my hands are pretty wide. I come down directly between the thumbs, and then press back. Again, forwards and backwards, press. Okay? When you do that one, be certain that your elbows are bent at 90 degrees, so your hands are quite wide. You don't want your hands closer in and your elbows go wider. Okay, so this is strengthening the medial deltoid, the front deltoid, the anterior deltoid, so the side of this cap here on your shoulders. You're also getting a trapezius exercise, these top muscles here that go down your back. And this is enabling me to create stability in the shoulders. So this is a basic set of exercises that I teach every day in yoga classes, in fitness classes, and it's very rare that I don't do these. Now I'll do one more, and this one can be a little bit more challenging. You could do it face down on the mat, or you could do it standing in a forward fold. I'll do it standing here. So when I stand, when I come to a forward fold, I'm going to bend my knees and keep my back as flat as possible. I will bring my hands together in front of me and make a diamond, okay, with my thumbs and my index fingers. From here, I'll keep my arms straight, bring my hands all the way back behind me, and touch them without touching my bum back there. Then as I come forward, I turn my thumbs to the ceiling. That's external rotation, a lot safer on the shoulders when I go overhead. And then I'll make that diamond in front again. And then I'll go back behind and touch, keeping the elbows as straight as possible. Thumbs up as I come forward and touch. Back, behind, and forward and touch. One more time. Back, behind, touch. Thumbs up, forward, and touch. Now again, as I said, you can do this on the floor, and all I'm doing is lifting here, swinging my arms behind, touching, thumbs up, and your lower back may not support this. If you don't have the lower and mid back strength, then you may have to do it standing. You could also do it against the wall, standing against the wall, sweeping your arms in a circle, keeping them touching the wall as you stand with your back to it. And so that's a series of exercises that I do for shoulders. I hope this helps with your archery practice to strengthen and create range of motion with your shoulders.